Alright guys, my wife and son are in the middle of playing Mario Kart on the Switch out in the living room, so if you hear any kind of craziness, that's all that's going on. As we all know, the market took a major dump last night to the tune of, I think it was 300 to 400 billion by the time it was over. A lot of that had to do with the Tesla announcement and then Vitalik Buterin pulling out, I think, right around $1 billion worth of Shiba Inu and sending it to the India COVID relief. Not a bad thing. No problem with that. However, I do think it jacked a ton of investors yesterday. But whatever. That's not even what this video is about. So moving on from all that is, which green crypto is Tesla likely to use for payments now that they have halted the BTC transactions? I thought this was a cool article. I'm sure everybody saw this. I'll leave it on the screen for a second. You can pause if you want to read it. This was the whole announcement. We had a prediction from this guy who I do actually follow on Twitter. Has a ton of good stuff. A lot of people are under the impression that if you were going to switch to ETH, being that it's proof of work, you might as well just stay with Bitcoin because eventually you're going to have the same types of problems. You go farther down. They say the same with proof of stake. A lot of people, it's 99% more efficient than Bitcoin, so you could choose from any of them. Much better than that. I'm still not sold on this as a tech. I think it's too early to tell, but that's for another video. XRP could be the immediate choice in the immediate term depending upon the lawsuit. It's pre-mine, super cheap transactions, and barely any energy. Stellar, also very similar tech. The guy who helped create Stellar helped create XRP. Algorand's another good one. And then, of course, Dogecoin is on here because it's about Elon. Dogecoin is a fork of Bitcoin and all that type of stuff. It's not. I just don't see it. Eventually, I think it would not work. But that's just my opinion. Again, none of this is financial advice. Just stuff I'm reading, stuff I'm doing, and stuff I'm seeing. I think this is a great opinion in the middle of everything that's going on. Elon Musk just handed the best ad campaign to Ripple and XRP, says attorney John Deaton. John Deaton is part of the he's part of the movement he's spearheading the movement, I should say, to sue the SEC in the class action suit representing all of the XRP holders who were affected by their enforcement action, the dereliction of duty, and all that fun stuff that pretty much resulted in almost global delisting of XRP for U.S. customers. So billions of dollars lost to a lot. It's crazy. And their job is for investor protection. That's what they state on their website, by the way. Here's the energy use trend over the past few months is insane, according to Elon Musk. And where did he pull this chart? And this was tweeted after his announcement, by the way. Where does this chart come from? University of Cambridge. Interesting. I have no idea how to translate any of this information into something useful. So if you want to look into that, you can. I'm just going by what Elon's saying. The narrative is being built. I've been saying the narrative's been being built for months now, and it's starting to come to a head around here. Here's another one, continuing on for the advertisement for XRP that Elon has helped create. You just look at Bitcoin, the equivalent to the Czech Republic population of 10.56 million annually. And this is an old chart. ETH, way less. It's doing way less, but because it's proof of work, it will eventually climb, in my opinion. And then you have XRP. And I'll just let you read that. Keep in mind, too, these are the originals. There's so much new stuff coming out. I mean, I'm pro XRP. Everybody knows that, but moving on. Kilowatt hours consumed per transaction. Just look at this. Bitcoin, way 10 times higher than Ethereum. Bitcoin Cash is about, 4 or 5 times less than that. Same as the Litecoin. Then you're dropping down, almost way lower. And it just gets better and better and better. Here is a interview they did with Pompliano, one of my least favorite people in the crypto space. This guy is bought and paid for. He doesn't believe half of what he says, and all of his responses are BS, in my opinion, and you can tell. I'll let you watch it.
Hey, Pomp, it's Sorkin here. I don't dispute the idea that in the future we could get more renewable energy used to produce and mine and transact on Bitcoin. There's no question that is possible, but it's still at least several years out, if not longer. I think if you look at the Cambridge study, and you can Google it, it's the most comprehensive study that's been done on this topic. While there are lots of people who are using some form of renewable energy, a lot of it, if not a majority of it, is not. And so the question is, if you're an ESG investor, if you're a BlackRock, if you're one of the big institutions that's talking about ESG constantly, I think there's been a sense that they might jump in to these waters almost immediately. And the question is whether you think they hold off, even temporarily, as a function of if Elon Musk doesn't want to touch it in this case, and I recognize he still owns it, but is not advocating for it in the same way, it becomes a lot harder for Larry Fink to.
Yeah, well, Larry Fink better drop dollars then, because the dollar is way worse for the environment than Bitcoin is, right? And so I think that would...
Typical deflection tactic right there. Did not answer the question, just pointed at something else.
Most people would say that would be a ridiculous argument to make. So what I think ends up happening is, again, the Cambridge study, I've seen it, I've read it. I'm sure they're fine people, but also there's all sorts of data that's been put out over there where literally the lower bound of their estimation, or I'm sorry, the upper bound of their estimation is 11 or 12 times higher than the lower bound. And so they just are basically like, well, maybe it's a little bit or maybe it's a lot. It's not very clear. And so when I think you start to look at things like what's actually happening with the miners themselves, two of the largest provinces in China, the folks over at Coinmetrics have done great research on this. They're almost 100% hydro, right? And so what you see, again, is on the ground reality is that two of the largest provinces are almost 100% hydro. We're also seeing a big shift into the United States and Canada, where there's a much greener grid. And so if you look at folks like Great American Mining and the team there, what they're doing, they're essentially going to one of the worst things that happens to the environment in gas flaring. They're capturing that gas flare and making it carbon neutral.
Hey, Pomp, it's Sorkin here.
So there's that. And to that point, this is true. There are a lot of renewable energy sources coming into this stuff. My only beef with that is when you talk about going green and using renewable energy and stuff like that, the objective is not to have such an abundance of renewable resources that you could just blast through them with no regard. That's not the point. The point is to have renewable resources and technologies that use less energy. You know, I just can't stop. Moving on. So this is Dan Pena. There's going to be some language in this. This old guy does not care. He gives it to you as real as he can. And I'll just let you listen. He's one of my favorite people.
Behind Bitcoin. You would run as fast if you knew who was really behind Bitcoin. Really behind Bitcoin. You would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, and you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know. 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
One day.
And a microsecond, whoop, like that. If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin.
And if you're wondering who Dan Pena is, let's just look him up real quick. The $1 trillion man. I don't think he really has $1 trillion, obviously. I believe he's valued at like 50 billion or something like that. But anyway, here is another video by him. I'll probably get hit for copyright, and since that's the case, we're going to view it from his channel and give him a view. Make sure you go check him out. He does a lot of motivational stuff too. He's pretty awesome, man. It's I love how he just goes at it.
There's no such thing as work-life balance. None. Right now, on November 8th, I announced that when Mr. Trump, whether you love him or hate him, this was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II. See, I know what he was going to do. I know what he's going to do now. And he hasn't even got started. Now, what are you going to tell your kids and your grandkids 25 years from now when they say, gee, Daddy, gee, Grandpa, what were you doing other than having your thumb up your big fucking ass during the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the world? What were you fucking doing? Fuck all, nothing. That's what most of you will tell them, your grandchildren and your children. It's never going to get any better than this, kids. This is as I said on YouTube, the eye of the perfect motherfucking storm. This is it. I never thought I'd live to see it again. This is going to make the 80s look like a nursery rhyme, which I praise Allah, praise Buddha, praise God. I participated in slashing and raping everybody in the 80s, legally. This is going to make that look like a fucking nursery rhyme. And what are you going to tell your kids? Oh, I had to spreadsheet it. I had to think about it. I had to read another book on M&A, you fucking morons. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I love this guy. Where will you tell your kids and your grandkids that you were? I know what I'll be telling them. On to some other stuff. Something to be aware of. The IRS will seize your crypto if you cannot pay back taxes. Watch out for child support, too. There should be some articles coming out about that in the near future. Don't believe that? Still true. Shout out to Brad Kimes for the phrase. The IRS will seize that property and attempt to follow its usual procedures to sell it and to use it to satisfy collection. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are classified as property from the perspective of federal tax law, according to a 2014 notice published by the IRS, where they stated, virtual currency is treated as property and general tax principles applicable to property transactions apply to transactions using virtual currency. You know, they have been obtaining data from the user exchanges on Coinbase and Kraken. You know, they are having to turn some of that over. This is something I preach about. One of the ways to skirt taxes legally is by borrowing against your holdings. You know, you basically collateralize your assets into whatever other assets or USD or whatever fiat you want for that matter. And then you pay it back with an interest rate. None of that's taxable. In fact, the interest rate is actually a write-off. That's why I use all these DeFi platforms. You have Kava, Nexo, OneChain, all those. You know, I'm always talking about Flare Finance is coming out over the summer. It's going to be huge, especially for you Doge holders. It actually has a use once that happens. Pay attention. On to some more stuff, you know. SEC has brought 75 enforcement actions into the crypto industry thus far. You can look at this chart. You know, as it goes up, you're seeing administrative proceedings going to litigation, resulting in trading suspension. Out of all that, it looks like 52% of them were based on ICOs, which are initial coin offerings, which, yeah, I can see where that gets you all up in the security pretty quick. But some more positive news. House lawmakers approved breakthrough pro-crypto bill in Texas. This is not the first state to have it. Wyoming has a crypto bank in Kraken, the first one ever. Make sure you're paying attention to some of this stuff. You know, Florida is working on becoming crypto friendly right now too. I'm sure you'll be seeing plenty of articles about that in the near future. The Eliminate Barriers to Innovation Act, that's all coming out. You got the Safe Harbor Act coming out. Essentially, from what I've read, you're going to have a few years from the time you start till the time you have to become decentralized enough to no longer be a security. And as long as you have met all the guidelines, you're then pretty much free and clear as far as that stuff goes. To my understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a politician, I'm none of that stuff. So it's just, you know, me reading articles and trying to put stuff together. Facebook Diem Association moved from Switzerland to U.S. I don't know if you guys remember, Facebook was going to come out with the Libra project. It got just tanked and bombed. It was terrible. They have now rebranded to Diem. They've been working on it massively in Switzerland, and they are all going to be moving to the U.S. now. Silvergate is a leader in financial innovation and ideal partner for Diem as we move forward with a blockchain-based payment system that protects consumers and enhances the integrity of the financial system. Facebook Diem comes out of the shadows, and this is true. here it is again, talking about them partnering with Silvergate so they can launch the stablecoin in the U.S. So Diem will be a stablecoin much like USDC, USDT, which is Tether. Be careful with them. They're about to be in court again soon. They're, I believe it showed that 59% of their stable coins were actually backed by like random commercial paper money. Like it wasn't even like technically fiat from what I'm understanding. So I got to look more into that. One thing to keep in mind, though, is when Diem launches as a stable coin, which is essentially going to be tied to the dollar, I believe they said that Facebook has something like 2.5 billion users. So, like Facebook, even though I won't invest in them because I don't believe them as a platform, I think they're just manipulative and just dug in, bought and paid for. I do think that when this happens, you could see Facebook stock go through the roof in a ridiculous way. We're going to end this video with a little self-investment because that's something I'm really big on. This is the Wim Hof Method. This is something I have been doing for a while. It has a lot to do with like breathing work, cold exposure, and it helps to build, oh, here you go. It helps to build commitment. I'll leave this here for a second in case you guys want to pause it and give it a read. I have the app on the cell phone. I believe I paid like $30 for a whole year. It's awesome, man. The breathing stuff that they do, it mixes in with stretching, and I'm able to reach like ranges of movement that are just ridiculous. Excuse me. A lot of you guys know I've been doing ROMWAD and stuff for years, and this is not like that. It's different, and it's something that you can combine with stuff like that to really get some like awesome stuff going on. This is what I love about it is, you know, the cold exposure helps build commitment. So does the breathing exercises and stuff, and it helps increase willpower, determination, the focus, my energy levels, all that. It's very real. I do highly recommend checking it out. With that being said, stop shilling meme coins. Buy some utility. Not financial advice, just what I'm doing. Take it easy, guys.